This video will serve as my formal review for Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons, and I thought I'd start off by showing how cheap Nintendo has come by giving me a whopping 25 gold coins for buying the game cartridge instead of the traditional amount of platinum coins. That was just a side of frustration. I thought I had the recording software set up, so I figured I'd just go ahead and start off with that. So there you have it. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into what this game is. It's the latest installment in the Double Dragons franchise. Comes to us from Modus under the Arc System Works license, and it launched just yesterday, the time of this recording. So July 27, 2023 on PlayStation, on PC, on Xbox, and on Nintendo Switch, which is where I'm playing it right now. So my recording got screwed up on my first playthrough, so we're going to do some jump cutting here in just a moment, but I thought at least the first little part we could walk through the story, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on the gameplay and all the wonderful things with this. Unlike other Double Dragon games, this has a lot of options and modes to it that will increase or decrease your difficulty, giving you more or less currency, allowing you to play the game in any way that you want, any of the 4 levels you want, in any order, with any group of characters. Doesn't even have to be the heroes of the story. Good old Billy and Jimmy Lee, aka Bimmy and Jimmy, could take a back seat this entire time, and you could have a Bobo or Marion or some of the other villains that you'll fight do all the work for you, if that's what you want, which I appreciated that they opened up the roster so much. In the old Double Dragon games, you always played as Billy or Jimmy, working through a linear level set that didn't have any variant to it. You'd fight the same enemies in the same order, and while it was fun to play over and over again, and trust me, I play a ton of those games and beyond stoked for the Double Dragon collection to come out, this game took it to a different level, and I like that. Here, there are 4 levels. You basically can play through them in any order, but the trade-off is whichever of the 3 levels that remain, and then 2 levels that remain, and obviously the final level, gets harder and harder and harder. The bosses get harder. There are more mid-bosses to fight. There are more enemies, that sort of thing. It changes the level, essentially, to make them longer and more advanced. So as you play through the game, this game does want you to play through it numerous times to figure out which ones are those hard levels to save later on, to figure out what character combination works best for your play style. Do you want to have 2 heavy bruiser dudes and no ranged, or do you want to have 2 medium scrappy dudes? It's kind of up to you. This game has a tag in, tag out system, so each player, and it does support couch co-op, so you can play with a friend. Unfortunately, online is not supported at this time. But the way it works is you press a button and you can swap between the 2 characters. So if you're in the middle of a combo, you can press a button and your character jumps out and the other one comes in and the combo can continue. If you're getting really bad CC and you're getting just beat up really, really badly and you can't do anything because this game's never had a block button as far as I know, and it still doesn't have one. So you're standing there just getting wailed on, right? You can press a button and swap out for another character who will come in and kind of break that up. So there are some offensive and defensive abilities behind the character swap. Both characters have their own independent meters in terms of their individual health points, health pools, because not every character has the same amount of HP, and their different special meters. So you can switch between the 2 as you need, which is really, really cool. To gain more health, you can pick up power-ups that are scattered throughout the world, typically before boss fights, or if you kill 3 or more enemies with your special move. And your special move is that gray bar that fills up that becomes blue once you do enough damage, or just wait long enough. If you kill 3 or more enemies with your special move, you will get a food item. The more enemies you kill, the more food, the more rare the food item is. So I think like level 3 is like a hot dog, which gives you a certain amount of HP. Then level 4 is a hamburger, which gives you even more. And then level 5 is a turkey, and so on and so on. So This is great for those big HP pool characters. If you already have full health, when you pull off the special and get the food, it is just converted to money, which goes into your bank. Your money is insanely important because this game offers some light roguelike choices. Yes, a Double Dragon game with roguelike choices? Absolutely. As you play through each level, when you get to the end, you'll be given a list of options of upgrades that you can purchase if you would like. That will make your current playthrough go a little bit easier. It might be things that, for example, when you're at full health, you do more damage, or when you're at half health, you automatically heal back to half health, or things along those lines. There's different perks, and they're all random over what you can get, and those are nice because it does diversify up the gameplay. If you choose to not spend any money, when you get to the end and die, you can pay, and by die I mean both of your characters lose their health pool. You can spend money to keep the party going and keep playing. Or you could stop and bank all your money, which is then converted into tokens. Now, the conversion rate between money to tokens depends on how hard you want the game to be. If you want a really basic difficulty, the currency is going to be a lot higher. In other words, they're not going to reward you as much. But if you put on more enemy health and you have less HP and these sorts of things, then your gold at the end will go farther, allowing you to earn more tokens. Those tokens are the permanent unlocks. Characters, soundtrack items, a list of secrets. I don't even know what that would be, like hints and tips, and like an art gallery. Of course, I think most people, myself included, are really excited about the character list because there are quite a few characters to collect, each again having their own different moveset and combos and everything. But it's up to you. So if you want to just play the game and just spend all your money as you get it and not really worry about the token system and just play with the base characters or the characters you have unlocked at that point, you absolutely can do that. By the end, you're going to be pretty beefy, because you're going to get some upgrades that do make your character significantly stronger, which is very important in those later boss fights. Or you can do what I do, just play as far as you get, take your tokens, cash out, and go unlock a new character or put money towards a new character so that you can get one soon. It's kind of your way to play, which I really appreciate, and that is the replayability that has been lacking in really every other Double Dragon game since, like, honestly, the beginning of time. That allows you to have so many different characters, and there are so many different options in how you kind of progress and how you want to play, which I really appreciate. So that is the big difference here. In terms of the actual playing, you saw me loading up here and complaining a little bit about it. At least the Nintendo Switch definitely doesn't run as well as I would like. It's definitely not supporting a 30 frame per second experience all the time. There's a lot of sprites on the screen. I love the artwork in this game with all the different word balloons and weapons. A lot of enemies will come armed, and there's a lot of corpses that are laying around that are grayed out to give you a sense of like how much destruction you're doing. And there's a lot of special effects. Enemies will throw bottles at you or grenades. Sometimes different animals come out like dogs or scorpions or just a lot of different environments that you're going to come across, spikes and lightning traps and these sorts of things. The problem is when you have a lot of these on the screen for unknown reasons, really, the Switch just can't handle it. And what happens is you get this really nasty slowdown in your frame rate. And that's definitely a concern. Seeing as the game's only been out a day, I want to believe and be optimistic that they'll find a way to patch it. Maybe not, I don't know. It doesn't ruin the experience, but it does take you out of it at times because this is a methodical game already, where you're going to take your time and line up your specials and try to make sure you're hitting multiple enemies to get the food items and, juggling enemies and that sort of thing. So there is some methodicalness to it, but it is a little frustrating that the game kind of pulls you out of the action sometimes due to a performance issue, which is unfortunate. So hoping that can be fixed. You also saw, and I intentionally left it up there so you could see just how long the load times were in this game. Pretty beefy, pretty beefy load times. Again, on Nintendo Switch, I assume the other platforms that have a little more horsepower are significantly better, but on the Nintendo Switch, they don't run very well. Here you can see the end state. All these guys are coming over. I do have money to revive. I elect not to, and because of the difficulty, I get 1,000. Every one of my tokens is $1,000. So I'm going to get 11 tokens to permanently unlock. There you can see that mission is over. The game is ended. My progress ends on that run. It kicks me back to the main menu where I can now start over or go cash in my tokens, which I'm going to do because I love me some Abobo and I wanted to unlock him first. He is just such a cool character and he's been portrayed in so many different Arc System games that is just kind of this big dumb meathead, and I know he was going to do tons of damage, and you're going to see some gameplay of him here in a moment. And yeah, he absolutely rips it. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock Bobo and Burnov here. I noticed that there's a question mark character at the bottom. I don't know who that is. It'll probably be Master if I had to guess, because he's been missing and we have to find him. Or maybe it's the mayor. I don't know. Maybe it'll be some crazy crossover from another game. Remains to be seen. So whenever we get him, we'll figure out who that is. But for now, we're just going to do a little Abobo rampage as I continue to talk. So as I mentioned with the difficulty, it does ramp up considerably after you beat the first level, because they say the gangs have gotten stronger and the gangs will kind of rally, and you have these mid-level bosses. That's what you just saw on the screen where I died a moment ago. By the end, by the third and fourth gangs that you have to fight, because they'll be maxed out, while there are a lot of challenges that you can get, and you can see them briefly here where you get these bonus objectives, those do unlock, obviously, the farther you go because there's more things to do. You do find those mid-bosses like the ones that I am playing with now. So there is, I feel like, there is a kind of a golden path, because there are some bosses that are definitely not as hard as others that you probably would want to fight later on. So you probably want to beat the harder bosses first before they get to the second and third or fourth phases, because they do get very, very difficult. So keep that in mind as well. So there's some strategy here, I think, not a ton. But I think with every game, these kind of beat 'em ups, they are kind of a point scoring. They are kind of just like having fun comfort food stuff. So when you compare this game to previous Double Dragons, and you think of the replayability there and how much fun I had playing Double Dragon 2, for example, over and over and over and over again ad nauseum, or Super Double Dragon, and how much I just loved playing that game over and over. I feel like there is some replayability here. So I find that a lot of the critics that I've seen talking about that, I guess they're not familiar with arcade games. I don't know, but I think there's plenty to do here, and there's some really fun enemy variety. As a fun aside, for unknown reasons, when Abobo walks, he opens his mouth. I guess he's a mouth breather. And this guy is just a Hulk. Since every character does have different specials, and depending on who you're playing as, you saw me playing with Marion with the bazooka. She does have other specials, but the bazooka to me is the best. Every character has 3 different special moves they do that can be either damage over time, or a CC, or some sort of lasso to pull enemies close, like a crowd control, or in Abobo's case, just a stupid amount of damage, just to basically melt down enemies very, very quickly with just insane knockout power. So there's a lot of variety there in terms of the characters that you play. I'll be curious to see, as this game develops and expands. I don't think there'll be DLC or anything like that. I think if they can fix some of the stuttering issues, I think if they can fix some of the frame rate lowering issues, I think this game is going to be a welcome addition to all of the Double Dragons that already exist, including Neon, which I did love. I know a lot of people didn't, but I'm excited for that. So you got a little bit of the Double Dragon lore there, you got the roguelite, you got the beat 'em up stuff all in one package, and I'm so happy that this game came out, and I hope it sells 1 billion copies so we get even more of these games. because there's just a comfort food here that I think a lot of old-time gamers like me remember playing, like the original Double Dragon on NES. And I'm just so happy it's back. So I'm gonna wrap up my video review here. I do recommend it. I assume it would run probably better on the other platforms, but as I mentioned in my previous Double Dragon video, my Nintendo has kind of become my legacy system, and that's where I get all the physical copies of games that I can totally see myself playing years and years to come. And this is definitely a game that is instant classic for me, and just so much comfort food, and just having a blast with it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you made it all the way to the end and enjoyed this video review. Leave some comments below and let me know your thoughts on Double Dragon Gaiden, Rise of the Dragons. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side. Take care.